Beatitudes, I was so sure I knew what I was going to preach on. After all, with all the protests going on around our country, so many people standing up for what they think is right, I was positive that the message would be based on, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. But the Holy Spirit and I got into a little tug of war this week, because I couldn't get beyond that of, nothing was gelling, nothing was working. And so I read the scripture again, as my friend, Father Christopher, taught me to do. I read it in different versions, and there was a verse that kept popping out in the Beatitudes. And I thought, that couldn't be it. There's just so much more to preach on. And I even said to Father Christopher this past week, I am going to preach on the Old Testament lesson because, after all, Micah 6:8 is one of my favorite verses. God, it's set in this passage where the prophet is talking about God bringing the people to court, and God gets a little sarcastic. What have I done to you? Oh, let me think about that. Oh, I took you out of slavery. I saved you all the times you got into your mess. Did I ask for the sacrifice of your little ones? Oh no, all I ask you to do is to do justice, love, kindness, and walk humbly, meaning intentionally with me. I'm like, there's gotta be a sermon in there. But no, not this week anyway. Because the verse in the Beatitudes kept coming back to me was, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And I was thinking, this has to do with the fact that I'm actually, with Father Christopher, thinking about starting a bereavement group here at St. Jude, and I've been doing some research this past week, so I'm thinking, that's interfering with what we are to hear this Sunday. And there's also a little bit of what's going on in my life. Because my brothers and my cousins and I, this past few years, have been going through, the sadness of the deaths of many of our, the uncles and aunts. Before we can even grapple with the grief of one passing, we are hit with the sudden turn of health with another one and their death. We're kind of, where my cousin says, we're kind of in a place where we see the changing of the guard. It's a place of real grief and sadness. So I need to hear the words, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. But I also know so many of you are also in that place. Whether it's the mourning of a loved one, the loss of a job, the loss of health, the loss of some security, maybe this message is indeed for all of us. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And Jesus is not saying that it's a good thing to experience grief. But he is saying that in our lowest point, there are times when we are ready and open and willing to receive grace. And the blessed part of it is that Jesus walks with us. Jesus favors us. He looks at those who are low in spirit, low in the regard of others. And that is where he finds himself. That is where he reaches out to bless, to give grace, to be present, to make a difference because of his love for everyone. My cousin Denise called me this past week, And her father died in November. And she's in the midst of grieving. And she tells me the story that a couple of days ago, her mother, who was alone at home in Jamaica, heard noise outside the house and realized that the handyman, the gardener, who usually comes every now and again, had just automatically shown up, as is his practice, and started working on the outside. And she became really concerned because she did not have cash in the house to pay him, not enough. And she calls her daughter on the phone, and her daughter says, the one who is in Jamaica says, you just will have to explain to him and tell him you'll give him the money at another time. But my aunt, knowing that this man needed that money, that often he worked just to go to the supermarket to buy the food for his family that evening, wanted so much to have something to give him, and just was bothered by this whole thing. But what to do? So she went about what she had planned that day, and it was to go through my uncle's clothes. And the first thing she picked up was the suit he wore the day he was taken to the hospital. And I know you know where this is going. She goes through the pockets, and she finds, and this is going to sound a lot, but remember it's Jamaican dollars, 7,000 Jamaican dollars, which is less than 100, but it was enough to pay the gardener. And she calls her daughter, who calls her other sisters, one in Virginia and one in Canada, the one who I was speaking to. And together they start sharing stories about the father who always left money in his pocket, and you better go through the rest of the clothes, you don't know what you're going to find. And they are laughing in the midst of their grief. And then my cousin says, we said to each other, God is so good. God is so good all the time. There is grace given to us even at our lowest moments. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And this long list of blessings that Jesus hands down in the Beatitudes, this roadmap he gives us about what God's kingdom is supposed to be like in the here and now, each one of those blessings can apply to each and every one of us at some point in our lives. We are to know that we are blessed no matter what is going on, because Jesus walks with us and Jesus cares about us. But the Beatitudes is not just about us receiving the blessings, but about us sharing those blessings. Everything that Jesus says to us, every grace that Jesus gives us, is not just for ourselves, but to be shared with others. So may we be a blessing to others. May we look out and see in our community those who mourn a loss of a loved one, a loss of security, a loss of a job, a loss of whatever. Let us look for those people in our communities, and let us somehow be a support for them the way Jesus wants to be in our own lives. Let us remind them that Jesus walks with them. Let us share with them those moments of grace when there can be laughter in the midst of the grief, the mourning that they are going through. Let us remember that as we are blessed, so too we should be a blessing. Amen.
Amen.